The salt spray kissed the weathered stones of Port Blossom, a village nestled like a pearl in the gnarled embrace of the coastline. Life here was dictated by the rhythm of the tides, the cries of gulls, and the stories whispered on the salty wind. But above all, Port Blossom was defined by the stained glass window in its humble chapel, a vibrant tapestry of light and color that depicted the Sea Whisperer. The ship, as rendered in the stained glass, was a thing of magnificent beauty. Her sails, an ethereal azure, billowed as if caught in a perpetual gale. Her hull, a deep, burnished gold, seemed to shimmer even in the dullest light. And at her helm, a figure cloaked in shadow, his face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat, commanded the vessel with an air of quiet authority. This was Captain Silas, the legendary master of the Sea Whisperer, a man as enigmatic as the seas he navigated. Generations of villagers had grown up on the tales of the Sea Whisperer and its intrepid captain. It was said that the ship had not only braved the most ferocious storms but had also charted courses through uncharted waters, discovering lands teeming with exotic flora, fauna, and wonders beyond mortal comprehension. Some spoke of jeweled cities beneath the waves, others of floating islands wreathed in mist. The stories were fantastical, often embellished with each retelling, yet the core belief remained: the Sea Whisperer and its captain brought protection and prosperity to Port Blossom. Every morning, as the sun ascended over the horizon, casting its first rays through the stained glass, the chapel would come alive. The colorful light, fractured and transformed by the glass, danced across the worn wooden pews, filling the space with an ethereal glow. Villagers, young and old, would gather at these moments, drawn by the stories the window seemed to tell. They believed that if they listened closely, the sunlight, filtering through the glass, would whisper tales of adventure and distant lands, inspiring them to dream beyond the familiar horizon. Among the most fervent admirers of the window was Ilara, a young woman with eyes the color of the stormy sea. Ilara wasn't content with simply listening to the old tales. She yearned to experience the world beyond Port Blossom, to feel the spray of the ocean on her face, and to perhaps, one day, follow in the footsteps of Captain Silas. She spent hours studying the window, tracing the lines of the ship with her fingertips, imagining the creaks of the mast and the roar of the waves. She devoured every book she could find about navigation and cartography, her heart swelling with a longing she couldn't quite explain. One blustery autumn evening, as the wind howled like a banshee outside the chapel walls, an elderly fisherman, old man Tobias, addressed the gathering after the customary morning observation. He spoke with a voice raspy with age and countless sea stories. And quote, "The window, it's not just a picture," and quote, he began, his gaze fixed on Ilara. And quote, "It's a gateway, of sorts. The Sea Whisperer doesn't just exist in memory, it exists somewhere. And someday, when the time is right, it might choose to sail again." And quote. The other villagers murmured amongst themselves, some nodding sagely, others scoffing at the old man's fanciful speculation. But Ilara listened intently, her eyes wide with a mixture of hope and trepidation. Days turned into weeks, and the relentless autumn winds slowly gave way to the icy grip of winter. Port Blossom, usually vibrant and bustling, was now muted under a blanket of snow. The villagers found solace in the warmth of their homes, but Ilara, undeterred, continued her vigil. In the chapel, she felt an inexplicable pull, a conviction that old man Tobias's words held a truth she couldn't ignore. One particularly cold evening, as the moon cast an eerie glow on the snow-covered village, Ilara found herself drawn to the chapel. As she stepped inside, the stained glass window seemed to pulse with an inner light, more intense than usual. She approached the window, her breath fogging in the frigid air, and placed her hand on the cool glass. As her fingers brushed the image of the sea whisperer, she felt a jolt, a surge of energy that ran through her body. Suddenly, the glass shifted, the colors swirling like a miniature storm. Ilara gasped, stumbling backward as the image of the ship seemed to detach itself from the window. For a moment, the window was just empty, a gaping hole in the fabric of the chapel. Then, from that void, a ship materialized. It wasn't the image from the glass. This was a real, tangible vessel, her gold hull gleaming in the soft moonlight, her blue sails rippling in an unseen breeze. The Sea Whisperer had returned. As the ship hovered just beyond the threshold of the chapel, a gangplank extended itself towards Ilara. A silhouette emerged from the shadows at the helm, and Ilara recognized the figure. From the stained glass, Captain Silas. His form was still cloaked in shadow, his face still obscured by his wide-brimmed hat, but he radiated an aura of both power and invitation. "The time has come, young Ilara," Silas said, his voice a low whisper that seemed to carry the sound of distant waves. "And quat, the Sea Whisperer awaits. Will you join me?" And quat. Fear mingled with a sense of exhilaration. Ilara was hesitant for a moment, looking back at her village, the familiar houses, the quiet streets she had always known. But the lure of the unknown, the pull of the sea, and the promise of adventure were too powerful to resist. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, placing her foot on the gangplank. As she walked towards the waiting vessel, the village faded from view. The Sea Whisperer, with its mysterious captain and its sails of ethereal blue, was ready to embark on another voyage, this time with Ilara at its side. The stained glass window in the chapel remained empty for a while. The villagers, who arrived as usual at dawn, were astonished by the missing image, many panicking, fearing the protection the ship was said to provide had gone. But as the sun rose, the colors slowly began to return to the window, the depiction of the Sea Whisperer, Captain Silas, and now, a new figure, a young woman with eyes of stormy sea, standing at the helm, her own adventure just begun. The tales of adventure and distant lands, whispered through the colorful glass, resonated even louder than before, now infused with the hope that even the quietest villagers could sail on their own magnificent adventures. Port Blossom might have lost one of its own, but it had gained a vibrant new tale, forever woven into the fabric of the stained glass window and the endless lore of the Sea Whisperer.